I'd like to call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order for February 18th, 2025. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then the invocation led by Commissioner Earl Pileski.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Friends, let us be at prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gathering tonight. We thank you for all the people who are here. We think tonight of those who have lost loved ones in accidents and in acts of war around the world. We think of those working through the disruptions of new leadership. It's a healthy process, but not an easy one. We think of those who are here tonight. We thank you for their caring and their concern. We ask for continuing strength and wisdom to serve our citizens with our energy and our efficiency, and all these things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bear.
Present.
Commissioner Walls. Here. Commissioner Kennedy.
Here.
Commissioner Duckham.
Here.
Commissioner Pileski.
Here.
Commissioner Willis. Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Snell. Chairman Shotwell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion and support. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have no awards and recognition. We have any communications and petitions, please present them to the clerk at this time. I have received 2 prior to the start of this meeting. If there are any others, please present them. Seeing none, we have a special order of a public hearing at the beginning of the meeting here for a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority at 2532 Spring Arbor Road. I need a motion to open the public hearing, please.
Support.
I have a motion and support. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The Brownfield public hearing is open. At this time, I would ask Dave Sedgwick if he would please to join me at the dais to please explain what the history of this project and everything going forward, please. Thank you, Dave.
Good evening. My name is David Stedgink. I work with a company called Fishback Incorporated. We are Jackson County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority's consultants. I'll let Debbie Kelly and the developer speak a little bit more about the specifics of the project, but this Brownfield plan is before you tonight, coming from a discussion with the developer who approached Jackson County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for support in helping make this project happen. The building that he was looking at was not ADA compliant, didn't have stairs that connected upper floors and lower floors and other matters that made use of this or continued use of this building by anybody. They were going to have to undergo some fairly expensive renovations and cost. Jackson County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority looked at the project, and there was a discussion about support for this project to help with some of the demolition costs that were going to be borne. And that's what this Brownfield plan intends to do, is help the developer with those costs. I've been asked to explain kind of how this works. This is tax increment financing. It is based on the principle that a developer comes in and improves a property that is needing improvements, and the investment in the property creates value, and that will be reflected in future taxable values that are part of this project's tax bill. this this business will pay their taxes just like everybody else. They get a tax bill just like everybody else, but their tax bill is going to go up because they created more value through their investment in improving the building. It's those taxes, those new taxes generated from the development, that are used as a reimbursement basis for very specific eligible costs. This is not a tax abatement. This is not something that the county finances up front. It is entirely performance-based. The developer has to do the work that improves the value of the property. The developer has to pay their tax bill that's now gone up, and in return, all managed by the County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, we look at actual costs that were incurred that are eligible for reimbursement. We verify those, and then we maintain a schedule to reimburse those eligible costs. In simple terms as I can, that's kind of what this brownfield plan does. Good enough? Thank you, sir.
Please step up, state your name. This is for the it's for the Brownfield Authority only. Yeah. Mhm.
Good evening, I'm Don Smith.
Could you push the button down on the bottom of that mic? Just push it down and all you got to do. Once it's green, you're good. There we go.
Okay. Don Smith, I live in Summit Township. And coming into this meeting, I had a concern about this. I do have concerns, but many of them have been pushed aside by more information. Originally, I was a little bit concerned because of the terminology called brownfield, and that took me into a place of like where I used to work years ago at ADCO, where we had to remove oil products and to bring it into a standard that was safe. But anyway, I've got a list of concerns I'd like to go through. Okay. So the one thing that changed my mind on the project is that I discovered under the paragraph in the presentation from Messenger is that paragraph 1.2, basis of eligibility, property now qualifies under the Act 381 as functionally obsolete. So it's not a hazardous situation. It's just not up to standards to meet ADA requirements. Okay. So then in paragraph 2.6, duration of brownfield plan, the authority intends to begin capture of tax increment revenue in 2026. Total cost of eligible activities, including contingencies, anticipated as $285,000. So I think part of the explanation I'd like to receive someone is, what is local capture? Okay, that's a question. Then I had a pull quote from another document there called Notice to All Taxing Jurisdictions. This brownfield plan anticipates the capture of real and personal property taxes from local tax increment revenues only. Explain that. And then I note in the brownfield plan on table 2, there's a list of local entities for local capture. I'd like to understand how that works. So with the current Summit Township fiscal year 2025 budget showing an imbalance that will be covered by cash reserves, this renovation will be an additional burden on the township budget and results in an additional long-term tax burden on Summit Township property owners. So somebody needs to sort that out for me. If this project is approved, who will inform the county property owners of the additional long-term tax burden under local capture? So how does the repurposed property benefit the entire Jackson County? I think Mr. Messenger, if he comes up and talks about it, can tell us about that. The one thing I noted in the document that there will be potential for 20 more employees, or 20 employees for this clinic. So that I see as a benefit. So I've also discovered that Messenger will underwrite the operating costs once this property is renovated, so I had that cleared. And can this property be repurposed for more than mental health services? So those are my questions and comments.
So is it on? Okay. My name is Marcy Jankovich. I live in Summit Township, just down the street from this property. I was in that property actually in 2020 to go to the dentist. The building was sold in 2022, and apparently the buyer discovered the desired renovations that look more like a remodel were expensive and figured a sophisticated renovation development company could come up with the county way to finance the project. Citizens perceive brownfield projects as cleaning up asbestos or oil spills or other such contamination. They don't envision brownfield funds for this kind of use. Businesses currently operating at that location include, and we keep talking about repurposed, they include S&K Tax Accounting Services, Cooper Power Systems, Inc., the Dental Experience, Inc., which was my dentist that I went to, which is a very lovely dental office, and Creative Ceramics. So I don't see how it's a repurpose to turn an office building and renovate it to be an office building. I don't think it meets the criteria. The very vague tax assessor statement claims the building is functionally obsolete for its intended purpose. What does that mean? Apparently, if you look at who the current tenants are, its current purpose is for offices and its intended purposes is for offices. So I don't think it meets the criteria in that regard. I don't know what the tax assessor thinks that the intended purpose of the building is, but it's clear from the document submitted that the intended purpose is for more offices. I think this is a bastardization of what brownfield funds were expected and intended to address. And it's these kinds of abuses and these kinds of slick maneuvers are why citizens don't trust you and why they won't vote for millages for important things that we really do need, like the jail. And so I'd like you to reconsider this, because do some more homework. What are they really doing on this particular property? If you take the house on North Street that burned down, I understand that one. I don't understand this one because I've been in that building. It's offices.
So, hi, my name is Cheryl Vidito, and I'm also from Summit Township. And so, kind of like the past speakers here, I've heard that the property at 2532 Spring Arbor Road, has bathrooms and a stairwell. I guess it's not even existent, that's not there, and it's not up to ADA handicapped accessible codes. So as a result, a solution was proposed to use the Brownfield redevelopment plan to pull rather extensive funds from voter-approved taxable sources to fund this project to help finance the contractor who's doing this work. However, from what I heard at our last Jackson County Republican Committee meeting, it sounds like the utilization of the Brownfield redevelopment plan is supposed to be incorporated and used for more serious issues such as chemical contamination and things of that matter. So I'm just wondering, will a bad precedent be set in this instance that will now allow all buildings that require handicap refurbishing to use the Brownfield redevelopment plan to pull our tax dollars from other genuinely needed tax revenue sources and funds? I'm hoping that a discussion can be undertaken here later this evening per the commissioners to help the Jackson County citizenry, people like me, to better understand the use and justification of the Brownfield redevelopment plan for the 2532 Spring Arbor Road project and the proposed tax appropriations, which again appears to be quite extensive. So my goal in speaking out this evening is to gain a better understanding than what I currently have right now. Thank you.
My name is Nicole Cantrell. I'm in Sandstone Township. I'm on the Planning Commission there, and I am concerned about this project for several reasons. Number one, if there are federal taxpayer funds available for brownfield redevelopment, we don't have to use them. We can just leave taxpayer funds alone. That's always an option. You also have the option to not stretch the definition of something to violate public trust. Most people assume that brownfield redevelopment is for the public good of improving a toxic site, not because somebody made a bad real estate investment, right? I don't wish that I had a new kitchen and try to figure out how I could get the county to help me pay for that. Stretching the definition of that in order to use public funds, which could be used to clean up toxic site, isn't the best use. And furthermore, to seek public funds and avoid paying a fair share of millage taxes for mental health services for the next 17 years while drawing a profit from private mental health services seems unethical, but also a little slimy. So those are my concerns. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Kelly, and I'm the Vice President of Accelerate Jackson County, formerly known as the Enterprise Group of Jackson. And I also staff the Jackson County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. So tonight I am here in favor of the resolution adopting a brownfield plan for 2532 Spring Arbor Road in Summit Township, which is being redeveloped by Messenger Properties as an outpatient mental health facility. And I would like to note that Summit Township did meet on this brownfield plan, and they approved a resolution supporting adoption of this brownfield plan at their December 10th board meeting. The Jackson County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority helps facilitate the redevelopment of brownfields by providing economic development incentives through tax increment financing, or TIF, as you've heard a lot this evening. So the purpose of a brownfield plan is to provide a means for local units of government to facilitate the revitalization of environmentally distressed areas, or in this case, by renovating a currently functionally obsolete building to bring it to current ADA standards and improving the mental health resources for our community. This project will bring $1 million in new investment, 20 full-time jobs will be retained, whereas if the developer did not have this economic development tool, this $1 million project would not occur if he wasn't able to use a brownfield plan as an economic development incentive. Thank you.
Sue McCrellis, Summit Township, Precinct 3. I am just going to support my fellow township members who've been up here. I am not in favor of this brownfield project, and I am interested in getting more information, but I think it's a stretch. Thank you.
My name's Phil Beamer. I hope there's an accounting of the funds that get put into this. According to Dave, there is. My main concern is if the business fails, those funds are lost. And then with that building in particular, I don't know if you've been through that or in that, there's a very limited amount of businesses that can go in that building because it's just the way it's designed. So there's not, in my opinion, many businesses that would be a fit for that building.
Good evening. My name is Brad Messenger. I am the developer of the project here for the Brownsfield Plan. So good evening, members of the Township Board, community leaders, and residents. I stand for you today as both a business owner and a dedicated provider of mental health services across Michigan. We do currently serve 5 different counties, and this is our newest of our projects. My organization, Michigan Psychological Care and Messenger Properties, which is the company who purchases and maintains the buildings that we use by Michigan Psychological Care, has had the privilege of serving over 250,000 Michiganders each year. That includes anything from psychological testing to mental health outpatient to autism and ABA services, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. We are currently serving Summit Township by leasing a building, but it is just not enough space. We have had some previous talk about employing 20 new employees into the area, and I guarantee you we will need a lot more than 20. When I use the term 20 for this, that's 20 master's and doctorate level providers that we need, and I cannot hire fast enough for the mental health needs of this community. So it may end up needing to be a lot more than 20, but that does not include billers, receptionists, credentialists. It will be a lot more than 20 jobs that this will be creating. I understand that when people normally look at a medical practice, they see it as being highly lucrative. The reality here is that as a mental health provider, we earn on average less than 1/8 of what a traditional physician would make. And with the master's, which is required to provide mental health services, being consistently in the top 10 list for the lowest paid master's degree in the country. And as such, this means that with the growth, with every expansion, with every new clinic, and every effort in order to expand the ongoing needs of mental health services, anything that we can do to allow us to continue to open a new facility to provide services is welcome. And I don't know that my business would have been able to go in and use this building had I not gotten some assistance. This Brownsfield redevelopment plan is just not is not only a financial incentive, it is a critical tool designed by Congress and administered by Michigan's Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy to turn a functionally obsolete building into a valuable community asset. The law was written with the intent to ensure properties such as this on Spring Arbor Road, which are currently unusable for many reasons, including being inaccessible under the Americans with Disabilities Act, but also not up to code electrically. It needs new roofing, new plumbing, new walls with widened hallways, and opening of bathrooms so that they can be assessed with those with disabilities and more. I cannot hire, and I am not legally allowed to provide services, nor would any other medical service be able to do that if we are not ADA compliant. By approving this Brownsfield plan, we are not just making it possible to repurpose an otherwise abandoned, although there is one tax service in one building, or excuse me, in one room in the basement. That's the only current business in there. This project will provide a new facility for much needed mental health services and is estimated, according to my realtor, to double or triple the taxable value of the property and to increase the value of those buildings around it, and will generate increased revenue for the township and its residents by doing so. It is important to note that while the Brownsfield plan provides assistance for demolition only, which currently is less than $100,000 estimated, although we do have it up to a possible $285,000, we're currently below $100,000 as I'm trying to keep it as low as possible. It's important to note while the Brownsfield plan provides assistance for the demolition only, the vast majority of the financial burden to redevelop this building falls on me as the owner. This initiative makes the project feasible, but it does not remove my personal investment or responsibility. And I have been running these services for 14 years, and I am currently one of the largest mental health providers in Michigan because we see all insurances, Medicaid, people who can't afford their copays, sliding scale fees. We do it all, and that's why we're the most popular. We don't make a whole lot of money doing it, but we do enough, and I have enough of a business plan to make it successful. In the end, this is more than just being about a single building. It's about ensuring that our community has access to essential health care, making productive use of neglected properties, and strengthening the local economy. I urge you to approve this Brownsfield plan, not just because the law clearly allows for it, but because it is the right thing to do for Summit Township, its residents, and its future. Thank you.
My name is Sophia Cantrell. I live in Sandstone Township, and I would just like to point out that even though maybe diverting these are federal taxpayer funded funds, like taxpayers are paying for this, and then you're going to divert these funds to this private investment. But I mean, he's argued that that increases the taxable value of the property. But I believe the legislation, like in order to incentivize improving it, it like freezes the tax, like the tax rate on your property. So it's like 3% and then maybe 3% next year. And like you can't increase it, or like it stays at, what is it? Stays at 3%, the initial value before the renovations, before the value went up. So you're not gonna be able to tax this property as its value increases for about 15 more years. So we're pulling taxpayer funds, and they're not getting back for at least 10 or 15 more years, plus after that. So while the value of the property is increased, the taxable value of the property is increasing, it's going to be a while before the township is going to receive any funds back from these renovations, for the value of these renovations. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions or comments you'd like to make for the brownfield? Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel the definition and the use of the Brownfield Act is being severely stretched here. I'll be voting no on this. As an example, I purchased a tax forfeiture home within the city. I remodel it, which is going to happen with this house. I clean it up. I make the restroom ADA compliant. I redo the stairwell to make the steps easier to go up and down, so now it's safer and it's ADA compliant. I clean, I remodel. I have it treated for a musty smell inside. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna have it treated. One property I own now has been brought right up to code with the use of taxpayer dollars, and I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna help solve a community problem. I'm gonna rent it out because we have a shortage of rental homes. I think it's a wrong use of taxpayer dollars. I think I've checked all the boxes on why it qualifies, but what are we gonna do with the Brownfield Act if all future winners of tax forfeiture auctions turns right around and say, okay, Brownfield, now I'm gonna remodel this and I'm gonna make me a healthy income here. I think if this was applied to all tax forfeiture properties, we would have a big problem. I'm not sure, even though it'll bring the neighboring properties' tax values up, I'm not too sure the neighbors would wish to have their tax values shoot up. So I'll be voting no on this. I think it's a stretch and the wrong use of the Brownfield Act. Thank you.
Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Chairman. I got several questions. In the Table 1 summary of eligible costs, you got site demolition, 110,000, building demolition, 110,000. You got a contingency of 33,000. Contingency is wise to put in there. I'm an architect. I've done remodelings, renovations on many buildings. You always put a contingency in there. That's for things you don't know, but something's going to come up. You're going to discover something, you're going to need extra money. So all the contingency is when the contractor's preparing his cost to do your project for you, you tell him, add another 33,000 into your bid, so that when these things show up, we're covered. But if nothing comes up, the contractor doesn't get to keep that 33,000. That goes back to the owner. So in this case, if they don't need all of this contingency, where is the provision to return this back to the taxpayers?
First, the money is never taken out of the fund until such time as it's paid. So the contingency is not going to go anywhere because he's not spent it. So there's no reason to reimburse somebody for something that wasn't spent.
Sorry, I didn't follow that. My next comment, in the Fishbeck paperwork, they talk about the building is not up to ADA standards, it needs a stairwell. That does not fit my definition of a functionally obsolete building. Brownfields, to me, are,
Tony, to answer that, I'd like to answer the questions as you raise them, so if I could, so I don't miss one. It's not your standard of what ADA compliant is. It's the federal government standard of what's ADA compliant. So whether you think the staircase is ADA compliant or
that's
not.
not what I said.
Yeah, you did.
That's not what I was getting at.
You said the staircase?
No, I'm saying Fishbeck says because it is not ADA
Correct.
up to
That's-
standards. I'm not setting a standard. I'm saying this is their excuses for why they need the money.
It's not an excuse, sir. It's federal standard that they're building it to.
And a state standard. May I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fishbeck thinks because it doesn't meet current ADA standards, it doesn't have a stairwell, it's functionally obsolete.
It's not Fishbeck, Tony. It's state.
Do I get
and-
to read this?
No, it's state and federal government. You can't blame Fishbeck for federal and state standards that the township's building code inspector is enforcing.
May I finish, get to my point? Thank you. Because someone thinks it's not up to ADA standards or doesn't have a stairwell, does not make that building functionally obsolete. To me, a brownfield are facilities like the Mitchner plating site. That's a brownfield. There's a lot of chemical contamination. It's near the river. And if that site is not cleaned up, those chemical contaminants affect everybody in the state. Because it's next to the river, contaminants get spilled there, they can get out to the Great Lakes. That, to me, is a justifiable use of the brownfield definition. I know the state law allows for this definition of functionally obsolete. Just because the state law allows it, doesn't mean we're obligated to approve it. There's many things the state law allows that are not moral, not godly, and I don't support them. Next question, when you get to the affidavit from the township, again, he talks about technology not up to date. What building that would be renovated today would not need technology improvements, would not need plumbing improvements, would not need electrical improvements, would not need ADA corrections throughout the whole building? To me, having designed many buildings, that's part of the construction process. That's part of the owner's responsibility. I don't agree with the state, and yes, they allow this functionally obsolete definition. They don't mandate it, so I'm not going to support it.
Tony,
It's not,
Tony,
Steve?
they're not asking you to pay for the updates to the building. They're asking for you to support the demolition of the functionally obsolete parts of the building.
I don't believe that's correct. No, even if it's strictly demolition, if you need to demolish out-of-date plumbing, if you need to demolish outdated electrical or outdated technology or outdated walls that are around your bathrooms, it's the owner's, it is, in my architectural practice, it's always been the owner's obligation to pay for his own construction and not ask the voters to give up their millage monies that they have authorized. Fishbeck, page 1, where they get into paragraph 2.1, description of costs to be paid with tax increment. Last sentence, they say that the local brownfield revolving fund is estimated to be $121,270. Well, if you go to figure 3, page 17, they list the $121,000, plus they list the $20,511 administrative fee, plus they list the $27,810 for the state brownfield redevelopment fund. So it's not just $121,000, it's $169,591. When you get to table 3, thank you for the larger copy. Table 3 was updated, and I don't know if the rest of you have found what was estimated. You were given a copy of the corrected table 3 today. I got mine Friday. I'm still curious how the total state increment revenue in the original was listed at $375,651, and it came down to $222,477. That's quite a reduction. And under the line item, local TIF available for reimbursement, the original form had that listed at $1,348,665, and that was brought down to $184,605. So that's a substantial reduction in numbers. When I went to my townships, based on the original page 13, chapter 3, using the math that was presented, I accurately represented to my townships that the increment taxing was going to be $1,543,332. I'm glad I got those numbers corrected. Every of my townships were outraged at that price. I'll be glad to go back and tell them that was an error. That's not actual. We have here the, if you get in the top right corner of this sheet, you can see we've got $121,270, the LBRF. We got the administrative fee for the local brownfield. We got the $20,500 for the state. So we're getting up to $258,000 for the developer. And so that means the taxes that are going to be captured are going to be $427,591. And again, on page 3, table 3, page 13, if you take the different tax increment fundings for the state and the local, the state capture is going to be $250,287. The local tax capture is going to be $225,625. So what's going to brownfield organizations, is what I'm going to call them, state and local, you got a total of $475,912. And the contractors only get, the owners only get, going to be reimbursed for $258,000? Unless you can show me where my math is wrong. The environmental agencies for the state and the local are getting far more money than the developer. question, this may be more for the administrators, but hopefully the commissioners noted this. The resolution approving an amended brownfield plan that was presented on February 10, 2025, to the General Government Committee. The General Government Committee reviewed that, reviewed the other documents, and they thought, yes, committee will approve this. Let's move this on to the full board for board approval. And it's on the consent agenda for tonight for full board approval. The resolution that is attached to the board documents today is a different resolution. So the resolution that the committee approved and passed on is not the resolution that the Board of Commissioners is being asked to authorize today. Not major changes in it, but one change that changes where the original resolution said Village of Summit. So that was corrected, and it's now Summit Township. The original resolution had the following items, A, B, C, D, and E. E was stated, school taxes will not be captured in accordance with this plan. So the General Government Committee, reviewing this resolution, proposed that resolution says no taxes are being taken from schools. Well, that's not true. And the revised resolution, sorry, I lost my page. The revised resolution is changed from 5 items, A through E, to items 1 through 5. So 5 is now changed to the amount of captured taxable value estimated to result from this adoption of the plan is reasonable. So it went from there's no school taxes to the cost is reasonable. That switching out of the resolutions, I find dishonest. The committee passed on something that the committee had read, and now we're being asked to approve something that didn't get forwarded from the committee. This is a shuffle game. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Open and honest government is something the county talks about. It's something I talk about. I would like to see that accomplished. I don't call it honest and open government when one document is switched out and another document is submitted. This has happened on many other issues, and I've asked Administrator Overton if that's necessary to do that.
Commissioner Bear, we're in a public hearing about the brownfield. Please stay focused on the brownfield.
I'm focused on the brownfield authorization resolution.
You're talking about other things that have gone on in the past, sir.
Okay, I'll bring
While
that
I
up.
appreciate them, I would like you to stay on. This is a public hearing. This is a public hearing, sir.
I will bring those other issues up during public comment time. Thank you. I will be voting no on this.
We're not asking you right now. This is a public hearing. There's no voting or no consistency. He did. I'm speaking to him right now. I'm gonna answer his questions, Commissioner Bear. Are you finished, sir? Are you finished, sir? Are you finished? Have you finished? Thank you. Commissioner Duckham, to answer your question, a cash flow operation is how the Brownfield Authority works. We collect taxes, tax increment financing from brownfield projects, and we file it through and go to new projects and have that money available to begin those projects. At this time, the cash flow operations of the Brownfield Authority is being done because Mr. Campo made an investment in a brownfield site, and we were able to capture that money and pay him back, and now he's paying us back for that, and that is working its way through the system. That's how this works. We have a cash flow operation. That's why you as a member of the Land Bank Authority, would have the power to be able to work on more homes in Jackson County. So that's where that is on this project. Are there any other commissioners that would like to comment? Commissioner Williams,
Thank you, Mr.
May I
Chair. So,
respond to that, Mr. Chair?
upon other commissioners finish their first round, sir.
All right, thank you.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Most of what you just stated was what I was going to mention, but I also want to make reference that there was a comment stated that one resolution was presented at the general government meeting, and we're seeing a different one tonight. And by looking at both resolutions, they are the same resolution, Mr. Chair. Both resolutions that were, or the resolution that was passed during general government and the resolution that we're looking at tonight are not two separate ones. They're the same resolution.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. Since becoming a commissioner, the brownfield is one of the more complex things that you're trying to come to and understand. I want to make sure that my understanding is correct. So I'm actually going to ask Mrs. Kibitsky about this, the administrator, if I could. But we heard a lot tonight of taxpayers going to lose out on their funds to millages due to this authority. And initially, that's what I thought coming into this 6 years ago. But what I've come to understand is, I want to make sure I'm correct in understanding this. The resident, or what the business, is going to continue paying the tax on the 105, 200,000, and that will continue to go to the millages and not be collected. Am I correct in that? Only the increased amount? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, they will still pay taxes.
They will still pay taxes on the current base amount.
Yes,
Once these improvements are made, the new taxable value, I guess what I'm trying to understand tonight, because I heard the developer speak, he's going to pay those taxes and the increase up front and then be reimbursed on the back end? Am I understanding that properly?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other commissioners during the public comment? Commissioner Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding in listening to the developer is that without this brownfield, that project's not going to go forward. So it's a but-for situation. And that's what the brownfield is here to do. If there is a project like this, and that building is going to do, if we don't redevelop this building's going to do nothing but deteriorate. And you won't get taxes on 100,000, you'll get taxes on 95,000, and then you'll get taxes on 85,000 as that value depreciates in value because it's obsolete and can't be rehabbed for a reasonable amount of money. So it becomes an eyesore. I've developed several properties using brownfields when I was with Blackman Township. These work well. It gets put back on the tax rolls at a higher rate. There's no tax dollars being taken out of anybody's pocket to do this project. It's tax increment financing. So whatever they're paying today, they'll pay tomorrow, they'll pay next year to the taxing entities, the library, the township, the fire millages, and they don't get to tax or collect the tax on any debt millage, so JPS will be held harmless. And what is the other one? Summit Roads. Summit Roads will continue to collect their taxes on this, on the appreciated value. So to me, having 20 people, professional people, employed in Summit Township is also a plus. That's going to bring value, more value to the housing stock as there's more competition for housing stock. I just find this to be a win-win It's a proper use of these funds, and I have no problem saying that I'll be voting yes for this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This is a public hearing, Commissioner Snell. Commissioner Duckham.
I can apply about word for word everything Commissioner Snell said to tax forfeiture home that I might buy within the county and do the same thing with. Everything is equal, and I think it's a very big stretch to use a big tool like Brownfield Act to remodel tax forfeiture homes. And I see it as being the same. Thank you.
Commissioner Baird.
Thank you, Chairman. Table 2, page 12, lists the monies that are going to be taken from a whole variety of millages. Money's going to be taken from the State Education Fund.
No, sir.
Then what is the purpose of Table 2? This is a tax capture, meaning they're taking it. And you interrupted me again. So this is a private business that is going to make a profit off of this business expansion.
That's what businesses do.
What did you say? You turn your mic on.
They make profits. That's what they do.
Of course.
So you're punishing them for that?
I didn't say that. That's because you never let me finish and you don't pay attention to what I'm actually saying. You just look for something you can jump in for. So please be quiet. Any profits that this company makes, they're going to keep. Of course. That's what they should do. They don't share those profits with the taxpayers. He said they've got facilities in 5 other counties, largest provider in Michigan. So it's not a small business. It's not I would guess with that many different properties and counties, it's not a financially challenged business. So I just don't see the logic of taking taxpayer money, putting it into a private enterprise that, of course, is going to keep the profits. Thank you.
So we understand each other. He's paying his taxes to the taxing entity, and he then is getting reimbursed his taxes from his property. There is nobody else's taxes going into this fund. Any other public comment during the public hearing? Seeing no hearing, none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing. We have a motion and we have support. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Duly carried. We're at public comment now. Public comment guidelines. Each individual will state their name. They will have 3 minutes to address the board at this time. You may only address the board once under this public comment opportunity and may not yield your time to others. Board members will not debate nor answer questions at this time. Public comment is open.
Once again, I'm Marcy Jankovich from Summit Township. A good friend of mine is the tax assessor in Hillsdale County. I discussed this matter with her, and what I asked her, and what I think the issue is what constitutes a functionally obsolete property? Who decides that? She said there should be a tax assessor's statement in the documents. Well, there is. The taxpayer's assessment says, in my expert opinion, the property in question is not able to adequately perform the function for which it was intended. A substantial loss in value from factors including but not limited to changes in technology, deficiencies in design, or other similar factors which affect the property or property's relationship with other surrounding properties. Now, I've been in that building. I can see where somebody going into the building might want to remodel it to suit their own purposes, but I think it should meet the criteria for which Brownfield was set up. And the tax assessor, as I discussed this with her, has not applied the law, which he cites, to the fact. He doesn't say it's not ADA compliant. He doesn't say there's electrical problems. He doesn't say there's floors somebody's going to fall through. We don't have any of that. I don't think this is sufficient, and I'm disappointed that you do.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just want to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Andrew Mason. I live in McCain Road, or in Summit Township. I also wanted to introduce you to a fine group of folks that sit behind me. Will the folks in Leadership Jackson please stand up? Sorry, guys. This is a program that the Jackson County Chamber puts on to enhance the youth and promote leadership within the community. And I just wanted to thank you for having us, and we're looking forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kelsey Guernsey, County Prosecutor. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update of what's been going on in our office in the last couple of weeks. We were able to hold a really successful law enforcement training 2 weeks ago. We had 3 days, 3 half days in our office that had every agency in the county represented. We had over 30 officers there and command staff throughout between each of the 3 days. And so it was a really successful legal update. Some of you may have seen that we recently accepted a homicide from Ingham County. It's a really rare circumstance that a case got transferred to us after being pending for 2 years, but that's where we are, and we are going to take it and go forth with it at that point. Our office was also recently able to secure guilty verdicts for Roddy Stevenson, which was a 2020 homicide that occurred. So many years ago, he had been sitting for the last 4 years as we got through a COVID update, and I think he went through about 6 defense attorneys in that process as he delayed and delayed and delayed. But we were able to get a successful conviction, and I believe Judge McBain will be sentencing him next month. As always, if anybody has any questions about my office, please feel free. You guys know how to get a hold of me. Have a great night.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good to see everybody tonight. I'm just going to take this couple of minutes to talk about something non-government, and in my opinion, very good news. I am from Leone Township, but I am the chairman of the Jackson County Republican Committee. And we have just about to sign a lease on a 10,000 square foot office in the Commonwealth Center. The Commonwealth Center has agreed to let us sublease that to help cover the cost. We've had a gracious donor come up to help us cover the costs until we find that sublease. And the reason why I bring this up is there's 10,000 square foot of meeting room, function room, and we want to offer that to organizations for the community. Just get a hold of us one way or another. We can tell you the procedures for that. And I also want to announce that we're going to shoot for a April 1st ribbon cutting and open house. So I just want to announce that to everybody if you hadn't heard already. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I come before you a little torn. As you all know, I am leaving Jackson County and taking a position for Chief of Police for the City of Jackson. I just want to thank you for your thank you for your leadership over the years. I have worked and collaborated with many departments or elected officials within Jackson County. And you have some fantastic employees that do fine work for Jackson County. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to continuing my collaboration as the Chief of Police with Sheriff Schutte for any and all law enforcement endeavors for the City of Jackson and Jackson County. So thank you.
James Minnick, Columbia Township. I want to thank my county commissioner for his no vote. On page 23 of the notice, it says, and this is bullet point number 4, this affidavit is given in accordance with Public Act 381, 1996, commonly known as the Brownfield Redevelopment Act, specifically MCL 125-2652T. MCL 125-2652T reads, former mill, in quotations, means a former mill that has not been used for industrial purposes for the immediately preceding 2 years, comma, that is not located in a qualified local government unit, comma, that is a facility or is a site or a property, as those terms are defined in Part 213, comma, functionally obsolete, comma, or blighted, comma, and that is located within 15 miles of a river that is a federal Superfund site listed under the Comprehensive Environmental Response, comma, Compensation and Liability Act of 1980, comma, 42 U.S.C. 9601 to 9675, comma, and that is located in a municipality with a population of less than 10,000. And.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Public comment is now closed. We have no special meetings of standing committees. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 21, 2025 meeting.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any corrections, deletions, or additions? Seeing nor hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're at the consent calendar. I need a motion for consent. We have a motion and support. Any items for removal? Commissioner Bear. Okay, that becomes item 14B. Any other items for removal or consideration? You have that, Commissioner Duckham? Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll on the amended agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Walls.
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Yes.
Commissioner Duckham.
Yes.
Commissioner Pileski.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Snell.
Yes.
Commissioner Bear.
Yes.
Chairman Shotwell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Standing Committee, Public Safety and Transportation, chaired by Vice Chairman Corey Kennedy. Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight we have some appointments, the first being to the 911 Advisory Board. We are looking for a Township Fire Chief or designee. The current member is Tim McEldowney. He is the applicant. He was the committee recommendation.
Entertain support to concur with the motion.
Support.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Duly carried. Commissioner Kennedy.
The next is the Township Police Chief or designee. Scott Grahusky is the current member. He, however, has not reapplied. I believe he has retired. And a Darren McIntosh has applied and is also the committee recommendation.
I have a motion and support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Commissioner Kennedy.
The next is the Community Corrections Advisory Board. As we saw tonight, we have a new county prosecutor, Ms. Kelsey Guernsey. She is the applicant. She is also the committee recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Commissioner Kennedy.
There is a proxy designee for this position. There is not a current member. Nathan Hall is the applicant. He is also the committee recommendation.
We have support for the concurrence. All in favor, please say aye.
You have-
Aye.
Those opposed? Duly carried. Commissioner Kennedy.
Probate court judge, current member Diane Rappley, applicant, the new judge Jennifer Kelly. She is also the committee recommendation.
For concurrence, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Duly carried. Commissioner Kennedy.
Proxy designee for that position, there is no current member. The applicant is Lisa Hendricks. She is also the committee recommendation.
Supported from Commissioner Schnell. All in favor of the concurrence?
Aye.
Those opposed? Duly carried. Commissioner Kennedy.
Similar with the city chief of police, we have a new chief who everyone got to meet tonight. We're sorry to see him leave the county. He is the applicant, Mr. Simpson, and he is also the committee recommendation, Christopher Simpson.
We have a motion and support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Commissioner Kennedy.
The proxy designee position also does not have a current member. Sergio Garcia is the applicant. Mr. Garcia is also the committee recommendation.
We have a concurrence. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Duly carried. Commissioner Kennedy.
I believe that concludes business for Public Safety and Transportation Committee.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Standing Committee, General Government, chaired by Commissioner Phil Duckham. Commissioner Duckham.
We have two items of business this evening. First up will be a committee appointment. This would be for the Materials Management Planning Committee. Member at large, applicant Tony Bear.
Entertain a concurrence. We have a motion and support for concurrence. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That does it for appointments. Next up, we'll have the item off the consent agenda, the Brownfield Redevelopment Act on Spring Arbor Road.
We have a motion and support. Questions? Comments? Here, Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Chairman. I am concerned that if we pass this and allow a private business enterprise who legitimately is going to make a profit off of this, if we agree with this and pass this, then I expect we're going to have a whole lot more business owners that step up and say, oh, me too, me too. I want some of that tax monies. Fund my project. So did he need something to say?
No, I'm
Okay.
Commissioner Pulaski.
He was waving at me, doing something. Anyway, if we pass this, then I just see a stream of more and more people coming in and say, I don't want to pay the full cost of my renovation. Give me some tax credits. And to me, brownfields are for contaminated sites like the Michener plant that will pollute the entire state if those contaminants get into the river. This facility benefits one township and a few employees. To me, that's not worth tapping into the tax funds. And it was mentioned during the public hearing, it's hard to get citizens to approve our millages. And when they see that our millages the monies can be captured, that's the term you use, I think it's going to be harder to pass future millages if we do this. Thank you.
Commissioner Pulaski.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let commissioners know I'll be in support of the resolution. And I suppose the risk that if we pass this, that many other business people would choose to improve their properties. I guess that's a high-class problem in my estimation. We've got someone here who is prepared to spend over $1 million to improve a property, and a small portion of the tax that he will pay as a result of that improvement will go to assist in the construction. Let's remember that the taxes don't get collected until the investment is made. And it's that very guy's taxes who are going to basically put this project over the finish line to get it done. I think let's remember that it's a pretty significant investment that is being made, and the current amount of tax being collected on that property would not increase, it would decrease over the coming years. And the only way the tax increases is if this investment is made. And we're going to encourage this investment. No one loses anything, because the money wouldn't be collected but for the fact that the investment is being made. So I think we bear that in mind. I do support this. Look forward to the investment being made and wish the best for all concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, could you post the vote? The clerk's going to call the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Duckham,
No.
Commissioner Pileski,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Snell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bear,
No.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Chairman Shotwell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution passes 6-2. Human Services Standing Committee chaired by Commissioner Pileski. Commissioner Pileski.
There are no items for action tonight, sir.
We have no unfinished business. We have a new business. We have the Michigan Nurses Association tentative collective bargaining agreement for 2025 to 2027. Entertain a motion. We have a motion and support. Questions or comments? Only if he's hearing none. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Duckham,
Yes.
Commissioner Pileski,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Snell, Commissioner Bear,
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Chairman Shotwell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We've now arrived at the second opportunity for public comment. Public comment guidelines, each individual will state their name and have 2 minutes to address the board. You may only address the board once under this public comment opportunity and may not yield your time to others. Board members will not debate nor answer questions at this time.
James Minnick Jr., Columbia Township. I also happen to own a couple of empty parcels across the street from the fairgrounds, which, and let me even start a preface, excuse me. What we experienced here was a great exercise in how committees are supposed to work, debate is supposed to work, the peanut gallery, if you will, is supposed to get up and voice their opinions, discussions are supposed to be made, questions are supposed to be asked, and at the best attempts, everybody ends the argument with a well-informed opinion and then speaks their opinion with no shame. Having said that, I'd also like to wish luck to the people who are getting approved for that brownfield development, because I am one of those people, like Commissioner Duckham had pointed out, that I bought one of the vacant parcels that was before 1992 that had one of the homes that back when they demolished them, they just used to be able to demolish them into the basements, and then they would cover them up. So for the last 4 years, 5 years almost, I've owned the properties. Every time it rains, it's, you know, you're bringing glass and all kinds of debris and who knows what is underneath there. The property happens to be zoned high-density residential. So heaven forbid if I ever had investors or the stars ever aligned and I had a plan to come in and build on that property, I almost would expect the same kind of benefit that I'm starting to see that these things might even be used for. And with this accomplishment and this approval of the, is my time up? Okay, because I could talk forever. But anyway, maybe in the future that we all work together and we almost share resources and that we all find ways to benefit without thinking that somebody is getting more than the other guy. And I'll end on that.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Public comments now closed. Commissioner comments? Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Bear?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm looking at the two different resolutions, one from the February 10 General Government Committee and one for the meeting tonight. They are different resolutions. There's different words in them. There's major different meanings in them. And for anyone to not recognize they're two separate, they are not identical documents. If you think they are, you haven't read them. So my problem is still with the administration, and I have brought this up before. If it becomes necessary to change something, I think the administration owes us a text or an email to say that the resolution that you had on the 10th is not the resolution you're going to be voting on today. And that's a shell game. That's dishonest. I have told the administrator before that it needs to be more forthcoming. And yes, sometimes things need to change, but then you need to inform us of what the changes are so that we can look for them and something doesn't slide through on consent that isn't what the committee approved. Just terribly disappointed. Again, I like the idea of honest and open government, and a change in the documents to me is not honest and open. The resolution that was in today's board pack, under the second whereas, the Brownfield plan, quotes the plan, attached hereto. Well, it's not attached hereto. So in the future, if someone looks up this resolution and they want to see this plan, it's not attached. So how does this transpire? How does this happen that a year from now, somebody's looking to do a brownfield redevelopment and they want to look this up? They want to see the attached documents. How do they get to them? That's a question I'd like the administration to know, and I'd like them to start informing us when they change things. Thank you for my time.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll be very brief. So I just want to again state and stand by my position that states that these are the same policy, and to assume that someone doesn't read the policy at this state and at this tenure is completely unacceptable and just flat out rude. And to that point, the comment was stated in reference to number 5, and so I'll first begin reading from the resolution that was passed during the general government meeting, where it states the amount of captured taxable value estimated to result from the adoption of the plan is reasonable. And now moving on to what we passed tonight, which states the amount of captured taxable value estimated to the result of the adoption of the plan is reasonable. It's the same resolution, Mr. Chair, nothing further.
Any other commissioner comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session in accordance with MCL 6268, a legal opinion to be discussed.
So moved.
I have a motion and support. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Pileski.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Snell.
Yes.
Commissioner Bear.
Yes.
Commissioner Walls.
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Yeah.
Commissioner Duckham.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Motion passes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Entertain opinion of legal counsel. Motion and support. Do people want a roll call or do you want yea or nay? What's that?
Yea and nay,
Do a
would make
roll
it good for
call.
me.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
For clarification, I have Kennedy and Duckham as no's. Correct? Okay, thank you.